Assembly? Or what are we really looking at this far? Because we are looking at concerns that they have raised. If I just look straight into this particular censure motion now before, and of course with the Speaker, there is a part of it, the last part, that says, the further concerned that the public utterances made by Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of Kenya, have marginalized sections of Kenyans, created, all right, and continues to heighten tensions among different ethnic communities in Kenya, portrays the conduct of the Deputy President as being in contravention of provisions of Article 75 of the Constitution. They're also talking about him behaving against the national values and principles of governance, and of course, demeaning the high office of the Deputy President of the Republic. What would you say regarding this particular motion?
First, I have a lot of respect for Senator Mugatana.
Oh, yes.
Who is a senior lawyer in Kenya and a very serious, representative of the people. Mm-hmm. He has got a very good brain, legal brain, and is very well schooled lawyer. But I want to say that, unfortunately, I don't think he's himself on this particular one. I think this motion, so-called censure motion, yes, is meant to to test the waters or to see what will be the reaction. When I heard about it today, I rang him up. He's a personal friend of mine. And he explained to me, and I also asked him quite a number of questions. And I wasn't really satisfied. You see, what Deputy President Gachagua is doing is expressing himself. He just utilizing his freedom of expression.
I'm sorry to interject. If we're a bit nosy, perhaps, and Kenyans call it Rudaku, what did Mungatana tell you? Because you have not told us. You called him fine. You're saying he's not himself. Is there anything of public importance that you want to leak today?
Well, I just think when he explained, you see what you've just read, you must provide evidence for that.
Okay.
To show that whatever he's doing as segregated Kenyans. You see, all leaders, and indeed all Kenyans, under our constitution, are supposed to work for the unity and the peace of Kenyans.
All right.
And that's why you see once in a while that has been utilized to do the handshakes, and to do political combinations to keep the country peaceful. It's very important. But when DP Gachagua exercises his freedom of speech and truthfulness, when he said this country is of shares, that is the truth. It's a country of shares. We know how many permanent secretaries are from Rift Valley and how many permanent secretaries are from central Kenya, where that was a bigger voting bloc which made Ruto president. We know how many CSS and vis-a-vis the rest of the country. Even if Honorable Badi, became the first Suba to become a minister for finance,
yes,
you wouldn't call it really equal balance. He was being very truthful of what they did. So him and President Ruto converted the country into a company, and that's how we are operating. That's truthful. So what's wrong with him saying that? And he has said the truth. In fact, even if you are to take anyone to court, and whatever they have said is justifiable, then they get away with it.
Honorable Maanzo, was this the same tune you had immediately after, Rigathi Gachagua talked about shareholding before certain members of ODM party, of course, got into the cabinet slots? Are you changing tune at this point in time? Have you always been okay as a member of the Azimio and Wiper party, to be precise, okay with the shareholding conversation, really?
Well, it's a reality, and Kenyans need to change it in the future. In the future, we need a leader who will treat all people equal. In fact, as Kenyans, we will achieve, true unity and peace when you will have a president from the smaller tribes, just like it is in Tanzania and many other countries in Africa. They don't think tribe. In Kenya, during the time of politics, that's the time everybody thinks tribe and everybody goes to their tribal cocoon. But the Gen Zs have taught us something different. They were tribalists, and they came out so powerful as a new Kenyan nation. And I believe that is going to be the future. The new generations will not really tribalize everybody. But unfortunately, right now, that's what it is. And if President Ruto did not appoint people from his tribe, as many as he did, although he later on surrendered some of them to Raila Odinga, some of the slots. And if Rigathi Gachagua did not get their share of the vote, or you know that the so-called shareholding, then there would have been a lot of trouble from those who formed government then. But every president, from President Uhuru to President Ruto, they have realized there's no way this tribal thing will work anymore. The country has to be united. Indeed. And therefore, all that Rigathi has done is to be truthful. Will you crucify him for that?
Let me bring in a very key question here. Speaking of changing the tact in future, there is a concern, and I think President William Ruto has equally said, let us stop the ethnic politics, regional, ethnic politics. It's dividing Kenyans more. When you warned the president against betrayal. In fact, the deputy president was very vividly, outspoken about it over the weekend. You saw him going around in certain areas. Certain chants, including, what we had during the Gen Z protests, came out right before the deputy president. You really still would say that, even as an advocate, that he is doing what is right in his light, depending on the plight he's going through, or he might need to behave, according to other analysts, as a symbol of national unity this far?
Well, it is very important that the president and the deputy work together. But I was a little bit disturbed by the fact that Rigathi Gachagua was surprised to learn that the president has left the country. And he is number 2 in command. Our constitution requires and demands that when the president is not in the country or within jurisdiction, the deputy president automatically acts, and he represents the country. So the president did not appoint anyone else so that we are aware. While he's away, so-and-so is in charge of the country. Under the law, it is Rigathi Gachagua who should be in charge of the country now. We are all mortal, and something can happen. The moment the president is not available for some reason, and the moment the deputy is not available to, let's say by impeachment or whatever method, then the speaker takes charge of the nation for 90 days, and then there's an election. Now we are in a very serious crisis. We have no IBC.
Yeah, of course, we don't.
We don't have IBC. The members of parliament who have died and the MCAs who have died have not even been replaced. And nobody seems to care about that. Here we have a troubled presidency. And then we have no way of conducting elections in case of anything. So the country should be managed in a way that it benefits every single Kenyan and makes every Kenyan happy. There has been a lot of political blunders, I must say. And some of the people, you have seen what Honorable Sudi has done. He said within 2 weeks.
In fact, let me take that. Let me just share that with the viewer today. This tweet's coming up from different leaders reacting in what they term their own right, and as far as the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's behavior or grievances are concerned. This tweet's coming to your screen, of course, one by Oscar Sudi that Senator has raised, saying 2 weeks max. 2 weeks, maximum 2 weeks. And of course, different Kenyans reacting to the same. One might want to understand why it is 2 weeks. I don't know if it has any legality. Senator, does it?
Well, it means they'll make sure within their political power, within 2 weeks, Rigathi Gachagua is no longer the deputy president. And I want to say that Honorable Sudi, you have a lot of respect for, and Honorable Ichungwa, the leader of majority, have really hammered, and have pushed to make sure Rigathi is no longer the deputy president. I don't know whether Honorable Ichungwa wants to become the next deputy president. It is true, Parliament can impeach you. But you must also know that whether Parliament impeaches the president or the deputy, then the courts have their place. Any one of them is free to go to the High Court and say whatever happened in Parliament was nonsense. It didn't follow the law, it had no grounds, it is unconstitutional, and the courts reinstate either the president or the deputy.
In hindsight, if we look keenly, is it anything as akin to the situation of Wambora back in the day?
Yes, Wambora was impeached many times. And every time he went to the courts and he served his 10 years, and even had the audacity to run as a senator. So he lost to the people, but never lost a battle in court. So while we concoct all these impeachment motions and censure motions, a censure motion will not impeach you.
Okay.
But if you show the numbers and during the debate, you will know who is for and who is against. And I think the Senate is very sensible in how it does its business. And even an attempt to impeach Gachagua or mistreat him in any way has very serious political ramifications. I can assure you, if Gachagua had never been born, probably Ruto would not be a president today. He worked very hard, raised resources, and made sure that Ruto became president. So that's not a man you decide to destroy. He has following. Charity begins at home. You expect the president or even the deputy not to deal with issues which come from their own homes. If you are the president and you cannot handle an issue in Eldoret, or if you are Rigathi Gachagua and you cannot handle an issue of tea or coffee or macadamia in Nyeri, then why are you a deputy president in the first place? So charity begins at home. Before you serve Mogatana in Tana River, you have to serve your people.
I will come back to you because someone watching would ask, is history repeating itself? Is history repeating itself in as far as what we saw in the relationship between the then President Uhuru Kenyatta and the then President, Deputy President, Ruto, as our fallout in the second term? Is it a repeat? And do we learn, or is it just something we need to look at in as far as deputy presidency is concerned? Let's take a look at other tweets, if we shall. Senator Olekina has also taken to his Twitter handle, let me quickly read it, saying, "It seems your goose is cooked, mister. I hate to break the news to you, Mr. Truthful Man. The decision has been made, waiting to vote." These are personalities that Kenyans follow and serve in their own capacity. What would be your remarks on this one, Senator?
Senator Ledama Olekina is in the U.S., where the president is also. So most probably he has heard the internal planning of the government. He is stating a position which he has only one vote in the Senate. So
you mean
we other senators may decide to vote differently. We may not necessarily agree with Olekina.
What is the threshold? What are we looking at?
Two-thirds.
Voting? Two-thirds. Okay.
Two-thirds. And this is for every single senator. Similarly, in the National Assembly, is two-thirds of every single member, including the nominated ones, when it comes to impeachment of the president or the deputy. When you are dealing with a governor or a deputy governor in the Senate, then you go by the delegations, the 47 counties. But for president and deputy president, it's different. So I'm just wondering how Olekina comes to that conclusion. Unless somebody in the U.S., where they are, all of them, has whispered to him something. If that is the case...
What are you insinuating, Senator?
The decision will be made by the Senate and the National Assembly.
All right.
Olekina cannot vote for me. He's just stating a position, or probably doesn't like Mr. Truthful Man, as he have put it. But the truth of the matter is, finally, it is a vote. If the vote has not been carried out properly, or if the grounds were not proper, or if it is just a political assassination, then the courts are there.
All right. Now, two more tweets, and then we can get some very key bites of what has been said earlier on in regards to the same. Didmas Barasa, who is also reacting on social media, has written that in Kiswahili, ataondoka sio kwa kutembea, lakini kwa kukimbia, na sio tu kukimbia, bali atakimbia na kugeuka nyuma baada ya hatua 5 na kisha kuongeza mwendo kasi kuelekea kijijini. Kazi ni nyingi. Different. Let's also look at one by Mutahi Ngunyi, which is coming up shortly, as different legislators, come in on this conversation. But even as they do, Senator, the question, the very key question that I took before we looked at these tweets is it a matter of what really is happening in terms of deputizing a president? In fact, we have on record the deputy president saying, you had issues with your boss at that time, of course, speaking to Ruto, but that was the second term. We are hardly done with the first term. Allow me to work. In your legal lens, in your political lens, what exactly is the problem? Can we sort this so we don't see a repetition of the next in 2027 if we have different principles?
It's a political problem, and I want to say that the deputy president position seemed to be jinxed. It seemed to be a very, very difficult position one to find themselves in. First of all, there is the politics of the day, you know, the mudslinging, and you will also be destroyed for some people to make sure that you never ascend to become president. For Ruto, he survived. Of course, there are many other. You know, the election was highly contested.
Right.
And he merely became president. Just a little reduction of votes here and there would have seen him not get 50+1. Of course, we went to court to challenge his election. And many people, many Kenyans up to today, believe he stole the vote. And even those who stole for him have come out and said, we stole the vote for President Ruto.
They have?
They have come out now, even the Gen Zs and things like that. But that is in the past. Because at the time we went to Supreme Court, we didn't have all the information. We didn't have all the evidence, so we lost the case.
Wait. You have said they have come out to say we stole the elections without opening the server? Are you buying this conversation? We talked about the whistleblower. It was thrown out. The courts declared the position on the victory of President.
There are so many young people who have come out to say, I was in this station, and we did actually add these votes. And I will tell you, that can happen in an election. And now that the courts did not get that evidence, that is in the past. So if I were President Ruto, I will know that I'm working with limited numbers. And I will be the one to make sure there is unity in the country and that the deputy president is not mistreated. I will not allow it because deputy president also has a following. Remember, it was one ticket for both of them. So he has a following. What will you do with these voters if they decide not to vote for Ruto again? You can't force them. Voting is secret ballot.
All right.
And he comes from a serious area where there are many votes, 7 million registered voters in number. That's not a small number for anyone to play around with. So I think as the people play the politics, they must also think the future. If you mistreat Gachagua, do you really want to form the government again?
All right.
I think they are writing their own political obituaries.
But the question would be, is it President William Ruto frustrating Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua? Because essentially the information we have is it is allies of the president who are purportedly, frustrating or pushing for the impeachment of the deputy president. In fact, he said him and his boss are okay. Why do you keep mentioning President Ruto?
I think he can stop it.
Okay.
He can tell Didymus to shut up. He can rain on Didymus. He can rain on Sudi. He can rain on Ishugwa. But if he allows them to go on, of course, they also have their freedom as members of parliament to sign up an impeachment motion. To move that and even look for support. When you are doing impeachment, you have to look for signatures. So through the members. So they can raise the threshold if they want to do so, and the president can't stop that. But the nasty politics, he can stop. When Didymus says you'll be running and you look back and you run more and you run more. I think for a young person like that and addressing a senior citizen like Rigathi, there should be some decorum in how you do it. Now, suppose they try and they don't impeach Rigathi. What would be the relationship between Rigathi and the president?
All right, what would be the relationship? And some are even arguing, Senator, before I come to you, I want to play a bite here of some very key voices in this matter. There are analysts who are saying, might this just be a political play to divert the citizens' attention from the real deal? Questions of the high cost of living, interrogating matters accountability, and putting the government in check That's another question. But let us look and listen in to the words of Honorable Ichung'wah earlier on, the words of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as well in an interview on TV.
Give a man power and money, then his true character shows up.
In fact, another day, a very senior person abused me at the airport and called me stupid 5 times. And I looked at it, I was very bitter, but I looked at it later at night, and I thought probably he was right. I think I was stupid.
Unaweza kuwa unadhania you are impeaching Rigathi Gachagua. Kumbe umeanza safari yako ya kujitoa kwa kiti wewe mwenyewe. The same people wenye wanaleta motion na naambiwa kwamba wamechagua Junet Mohamed na Kaluma. Hawa watu wawili wataanza na kutoa naibu wako. But I want to assure you, hao watu in 2027 watakutoa wewe kama rais.
All right, let's get into it. I just have a few minutes to wrap up, but you have said that there is need for decorum. There's need to know what you say as a politician, because it can either heighten the situation, confuse the electorate. So even as we are looking at, Articles 126, 152, 158, 156 of the Constitution, Rigathi Gachagua has said, him being a deputy president does not take away from his heritage. But where does he draw the line?
Well, I want to say that Rigathi Gachagua is following, both from his backyard, where he was one time elected as a member of parliament, to many other parts of the country. And just as it has been observed from that speech, you may be digging somebody else's grave, only to find you're digging your own grave. And I want to say that if you must impeach Gachagua, and if there are members of parliament who will file a motion to impeach Gachagua, then there must be members of parliament who will file a motion to impeach Ruto. And you'll be surprised how the voting could easily go.
We are looking at the AUC chairmanship just next year, all right, February, if I believe, if I'm right. But look at the picture we are creating back home just now. In fact, when the president was in the UN, we had in the assembly, different things were happening on social media. I'm sure you were following. Really and honestly, look at this country, Senator. It's going down if there is no order. In the name of politics, what is the picture we are painting to the rest of these other countries in the globe that we hope we get some respect from?
And I think that's where Raila's trouble with the African AU's chairmanship begins.
Yeah.
Because you see,
AUC.
We must look good to the other nations. They're looking at us and they're just laughing at us. We can't hold our nation together. We are trying to use them to solve our own political problems back home. There has been so many mistakes which may cost Raila Odinga the chairmanship. And if President Ruto and his government were very serious about Raila going to African Union, during our Independence Day, we should see 32 to 35 presidents in Kenya coming to celebrate with us. When they had the launch, hardly would they get every single president of East Africa here. The people in southern part of Africa have their own thinking about us. So I think for everything we are doing, it is true, we are hurting our own nation, we are hurting our image abroad, and it may cost us a lot more. You have heard what ODM has said. We are not in government. If it is Honorable Mbadi, he went on his own. And that's why you saw the Secretary General of ODM asking Mbadi to account. He doesn't spare him because they're in the same political party. He has now lost weight. Suits can hardly fit him. He has not yet delivered anything. So we must make Kenya easy. And I think the best way to make Kenya easy, first of all, we must stop the stealing in this country. There's a lot of stealing. You have seen what is happening in the counties.
All right.
And even there is erosion of devolution, which was the hope of many people. You have seen the courts have said CDF is unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional.
Yet it was the only hope. It's only that some members of parliament may mismanage CDF, but the original concept is very good. It's perfectly within the law. when I was a member of parliament, I allowed the people to elect the CDF officials.
All right.
I allowed them, I never signed any check, I never controlled any money, and I allowed the community to develop the schools and to hire local fundis, and there was no problem. But any member of parliament who tries to touch a shilling from CDF, he will never come back to the house. So it is one of the good examples of how you can manage your country. But unfortunately, it's not sitting well with the constitution.
All right.
And something must be done. If you look at devolution now, counties have not received money for 4 months. How do you expect a governor to survive? He's paying employees, so they're forced to borrow money from banks which will pay with interest. And then the president himself, which is a ground for impeachment, in fact. Once he sends back a bill dealing with the monies for devolution, reducing it. You know, he cannot do that under the constitution. And we have challenged that, and because it's on the floor of the House, we are going to argue it there.
Okay.
But I think the monies going to the counties must never be reduced at any one given time. So we are making too many blunders, and the Kenyans are watching.
All right.
And the Kenyans will vote.
Indeed.
You cannot rule Kenyans by force. You can do as many kidnappings as you want. You may kill as many people as you want. But for every person you kill unconstitutionally, whether through the quarry or through Rivayala or through wherever you take them, does it add or reduce President Ruto's votes?
Is Kenya objective? 61 years, we might be attaining 61 years very soon. Will be there? Will we have anything to celebrate? Senator, let us be genuine with Kenyans. It is high time, and Kenyans are texting it right now. They're saying, generally, politicians should just stop what they're terming vividly bad manners.
There's a lot of bad manners with politicians, I must admit.
Yes, and Kenyans are saying, do not divide and rule.
Divide and rule is a very dangerous game because Kenyans now, after Gen Z uprising, are wiser. They are going to register as Kenyans by getting an identity card. They will register as voters. They are going to vote.
As we close, yes.
And they can vote so overwhelmingly that you cannot steal the vote. And they will have decided. They can even bring a totally new candidate. And even, I can assure you, all these Miss Baby members of parliament, you will never see them in the house again.
Quickly, who do you think this will, okay, you know, it's a light note, will be in the ballot 2027?
You know, that's a long way to go, but I'm sure we are going to see political parties come up.
All right.
Reorganize. I'll tell you, you can have even an election whereby many people have not gone to political parties.
Okay.
They vie independent, and in the house you have more independents than the political parties combined. Okay. So, as a president, how do you rule? Because the Kenyans, they love, all of us love our country. Kenyans want a better country for our children. We have no other country to go but our country.
All right.
And therefore, there is hope. And I believe, because you see the voting cycle is 5 years, there's nothing else you can do in between.
All right.
So whatever Didimas is doing and the Shungwa are doing, they could be digging their own graves when they think they are digging Gachagua's grave. I think Gachagua will celebrate and shine one day, and God will give him that favor if he's being misused unfairly and if he's being mistreated. I also want to tell Kenyans the best thing and the biggest mistake we have done, and that's why President Kibaki used to ask, utasaidiwa na wewe utasaidia na nini? One of the biggest duties of a citizen is to register as a voter and to vote.
Thank you.
8 million Kenyans never voted. If they voted, probably we'll be having a different government. But I'm happy for what has happened to Kenya.
All right.
Because for every experience you are going through, God is communicating to Kenyans. There is hope. I am very sure in 2027, we are going to have a very good Kenya with very good leadership.
Thank you very much, Senator Dan Maanzo, and also an advocate for bringing in your voice on this matter. We'll continue to follow up closely on the same. Keep it with us, Senator. We'll need you back in studio for a follow-up. Now, what do you expect tomorrow on the front page of The Standard? It is